Here we go. This is Chris, battlerap.com. I'm on the 6th floor near the airport in Toronto with the new champion.
Illmaculate. What's good?
So I wanted to use this opportunity to really sit down and get a full feature-length interview. We have about half an hour, 45 minutes before you have to catch your flight. So we've started playing chess. We're going to continue to play chess. And Illmac's a chess player, and he's a strategist. So, and I'm a board game guy at heart as well. Before Battle Rap, I was as into board games as I am into Battle Rap right now.
Nice.
But
so you are new into board games. You are a new.
Is that what kind of interview this is going to be? I was hoping it was we'll keep the competitiveness on the board, and in terms of the interview, we'll be collaborative.
Okay. All right.
So, so it's my turn. We're a few moves in. No pieces off the board yet. And the first question is just how does it feel to be the champ?
It feels good, man. Time caught up. Like I said in the press conference leading up to this, I seen it happen, and prepared for it as such. So it feels good that it's finally now.
Was your vision because you mentioned you'd seen it so many times happening, did the reality match the vision that you'd had of it?
Pretty close, yeah. That's sort of reflected in the bars too. I think if you actually peep, I predicted every round, which isn't doesn't make me Nostradamus. It's sort of a patternistic, style that Pat has. But
right.
I knew that for some reason, I had a feeling he was going to do what he did in the third round.
What did he do?
I addressed that in my third.
What did he do?
Just talking about the chains. Heavy lies the chain. I talk about that. Tell him how you feel. Heavy lies the chain. All that. Everything that followed. Because he feels weighed down by the crown, the burden that goes with it.
Right.
For some reason, I just knew he was gonna take an angle like that with me, for multiple reasons. But yeah, so I seen it happen, and it was pretty close to exactly how I envisioned it happening.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So, do you think it was a good battle?
I think it was a good battle. I do. I think it's 3-0, but I think it's a good battle.
3-0.
I think it's 3-0.
Yeah.
I think when the footage comes out, a lot of people will realize that too.
Yeah, it felt so. I watched it, and I've never interviewed while playing chess before. It's a weird dynamic. It's
right.
I'm kind of
trying to concentrate.
Yeah. So on your turn, I'll talk, and then on my turn, you'll talk.
All right.
So the way I saw that battle, and I was off to the side near the pay-per-view station, so I didn't. It's hard to see the nuances of performance and hand gestures and eye contact, and if you're being aggressive and in his face or further back or vice versa, that kind of stuff. So my interpretation of the battle, which I haven't rewatched yet, is that it was is from a bar and tone perspective of it. So my sense of it was that your first was good, and his first, he got the first very quickly into his first round, delivering into yours. But it also felt like that didn't ever shake your confidence, and it was you kind of were ready to lose, or in some people's eyes, you knew that he was going to have a monster.
I was going to have to fight a little bit of momentum from the jump. Yeah, I knew that going into it.
And then I felt like you very clearly got the second with arguably one of the rounds of the weekend. And we talked on battlerap.com about how that was the angle to take, and you married all of those, the Sharon stuff, the Calico stuff, the do you know how Pat Stay's a real dude? He'll tell you.
Us every 5 minutes.
Yeah. So all of that stuff, I felt like we could all, battle rap experts could see that coming, but it also felt like you married it all together so like a masterpiece, really, almost taking all these pieces, and it wasn't just here's the Sharon bit, here's the Calico bit, here's the Nils bit. Right. It was just weaving everything in and out, which was pretty cool. And then the third round, the way I interpreted it was that it felt as though you were both on the same road for the first 2 rounds, and then the road split, and your path led to the chain and his path led away from it. Mm-hmm. And he, instead of battling you, was starting to take a more, sorry, you moved that, that there, okay. He, yeah. Nice move.
The veering.
Nice move.
The veering. The paths.
The paths were that he went away and he stopped battling you, and you went further. You know, you attacked him, and he started attacking the chain, the politics, the the frustration that comes with, because you do end up kind of getting locked into battles that you don't want to take or you do want to take. So yeah, it felt that's at least how I saw the battle in the building.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
How did you see the battle?
I seen it that the first I was it was a little bit of an uphill battle. I'm confident like seeing it back. It's gonna it's gonna have more impact. I think the first was breaking through. No, I haven't seen it.
Okay,
but I feel like the first was breaking through that defense in a way to set it up for my second. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like even if I would have came out with my second, it wouldn't have had as much impact, because I feel like there was still a little bit that had to break through in order to fully get the crowd. But that's even what I talked about in the press conference as far as addressing crowd control and everything. It's like once I take that from him, it's a wrap, and I think by the second round it was, you seen that a little less, or you see me more in control, and I think even on videos more so, like the little back and forth exchanges where he's usually making his opponent feel uncomfortable, it's the opposite. Like I remember in the second, like stopping him because he was like shaking in the water, but I was like, stop, you look nervous. What I mean? Like,
and I did, that's one of the nuances that I didn't pick up on, and that is one thing that as I was looking at my timeline and seeing what the reaction was during the event, during the battle, like people were saying like, yo, Pat looks, doesn't look like he has that that brutal confidence that he usually has in the ring. So
yeah, and I knew that would be the case when I just had to take him,
And what were your interactions like with him throughout the weekend leading up to it?
Chill. We were just we got up, had some drinks, ate some food, bullshit, I'm like cool with him, and that's even I started my first saying that like I don't have any personal issue with him. I respect him. I think he's dope. The press conference set the tone. Like we're cracking jokes and everything, roasting a little bit, but you could tell there's a blatant mutual respect. Respect for the craft. Like we both know what we're capable of. So you can't take that away from either one of us.
Because we did do an interview with him where he kind of was saying like, yeah, I don't know, I don't care, like, I'm not that ready. And it's like telegraphing these excuses to some extent.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, he's said that before. I saw him at the Calico battle, the night before. He's like, oh, I'm still writing, and like, I don't know what, I'm sick, and my throat hurts, and, does anybody have honey that I can... So, he's always, I guess every battler is like that too, where it's like, it's in a way nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it is. In a way, though, too, it's also kind of setting yourself up and out, like, oh, well, I didn't win, but, of course, and I think that's part of it. But whereas my attitude was completely the opposite, like I'm going to win. This is, and that's where I think the divergence of paths were from the second to third round, was just mental states, and he was telling himself that already, and I knew that. I knew from months, like that was part of why I knew I was gonna win. I'm like, I can see it in his response, in his interviews, in his whole demeanor that I'm going to win. That he doesn't see it like I do. So
he's very humble, and he's like, nothing, like Illmac deserved it. He's going to be a great champion. He's a great battler. And I kind of said like, how do you feel? And he's like, I feel good. It didn't break his heart to lose. And he was very humble. And then as the interview goes on. Nameless comes in, and Roan comes in, and J-Pro come in, and they all kind of give their take on the battle. And throughout in his interactions with them, you can kind of like see him slipping into excuses of like, oh yeah, I'm paraphrasing myself now, but where he's like, oh yeah, this is it's good for me. Oh, I'm thinking about Hollow, this kind of stuff, and he would always, as he would get into it, he would catch himself and then pull back and be like, but not to take anything away from Illmaculate and stuff like that. So
right. I said that in the chain, like in the road to the chain, like you don't want that no more. I'm gonna oblige you. I'm gonna take that. See, I was like calling it from the jump. I just had this feeling that would be the case,
But that makes it almost feel as though there's two parts to winning that battle. There's winning the chain, which you did, and there's beating Pat Stay, which it's like, did you beat Pat Stay, or did he let you win the chain from him?
I beat him before we stepped in the ring. I beat him before we stepped in the ring.
There you go.
I touched on it a little bit at the press conference, but more so, I feel like it gives the West something like a bigger platform to build from. And I talked about it a little bit, but like Toronto, you go to these events, you go to the West Coast, there's a difference in turnout, and I felt like, there was a period where I feel like the entire West was kind of keeping everything lit, and so now I feel is like the time to catch up with Toronto's fight. Like, you can never take away what Pat did, and it's not going to hurt him losing at this point. And he's still going to have the same draw, and Toronto can still have huge events. Well, now let's take the chain out west and do the same thing and build the scene up.
Do you think it does that? It like the, bringing the chain back? Because a lot of people say like, oh, the chain is irrelevant, and like, for a long time there were issues with it, with Arcane winning it in the midst of a scandal and having it for however many months, 8 months, 10 months, and then kind of like it was just, there were kind of issues with it. For a long time there weren't any clear number one contenders, and Daylight got it when he wasn't necessarily the number one contender. It felt like at the time Sharon got it, and like Sharon Pat seemed like it was a good battle, and it was the right time for that battle. But again, like there are many people who are like, Sharon or Pat 3-0'd Sharon, and is a better battler. So it felt like you were the right person at the right time for it. But does it, and Pat having the chain also, like taking it from Arcane, completely redefined it as well. Right. And then him holding it for so long kept it strong. So where do you see yourself fitting into that narrative of the chain? I guess you mentioned the West Coast.
Yeah. No, I think it's all about what you do with it, when you have it. And I think that my vision with building the West, and the type of quality matches we're gonna, it brings importance to it. Like like Pat said, like it's not the chain, it's the name behind it, it's the symbol, and it's the same thing. Like it's only as reputable as the person who holds it, and I intend to defend it for a while, and I intend to instill another level of importance. I look at it like it's a new era. I'm excited for it.
It is definitely a new chapter, the reign of King Illmac. And it also, like bringing it west, because title matches have always been in Toronto, and that's been a huge part of Toronto and like the hype behind events. With you winning it, does that mean that there will be title matches on the West Coast?
There's nothing set in stone yet. I'm not sure. Those conversations haven't been had, but I intend to make sure that that's the case. Right,
because by doing that, it opens up an entirely new lane, right?
Yeah.
Because there's guys that like Big K and like Caustic who people say are in the mix of contendership and have been for a long time, who can't come to Toronto for border issues. So all of a sudden it's like, well, is Caustic now in the mix? Big K, it would be weird to put him as the number one contender, even though he was my personal pick for Battler of the Year last year.
Yeah.
This year he hasn't been putting it in as much work. He's only had the Ill Will battle, which showed that he hasn't lost a step, in my opinion. But obviously, having a rematch between the two of you guys doesn't make sense.
Not yet,
right now.
But yeah.
But I mean, who do you see as being on your heels for the next shot?
I think Roan's pretty widely accepted as being a number one contender. I think me and Shotty have something to settle.
How so?
with the back and forth with the diss tracks from his joint name dropping all the battle rappers, my response, New Chain, his back to back, and then his back to back rendition. I think we set the stage perfectly to settle our differences in the ring.
And there's been a lot of talk about you and Shotty for a while. We were talking about that in the parking lot at Duel in the Desert last October.
Right.
And was there anything before that?
I mean, it was always it was something that we have tried to make happen, actually, from Ether to I was asking for it for Blackout and a lot of events, and the reason I was getting back was he doesn't want to battle someone he respects. So now that there's been disrespect and blood has been drawn, it makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm. What did you think about his battle with Arsenal? Did you see it?
Yeah. I thought it was cool. I didn't see it all. I was kind of in and out of a lot of the battles, but I thought he took it from what I was seeing. The little hoverboard thing was pretty classic, but I felt like it kind of ran its course pretty fast.
Right.
It was still pretty funny.
So you didn't see the hoverboard and think
that's what I got.
Yeah.
No.
This isn't ushering in the new wave of hoverboard battles.
Yeah.
Because Smack
not
was
unless they send that check.
Yeah. Well, Smack was riding one at Redemption too. And,
right. I've seen that.
And I tried one. Have you been on one?
No.
They're pretty weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. I stood on one and just was shaky for a long time.
Yeah.
And then you kind of figure it out and you zip around. But all right, let me make this move.
Yeah,
here.
for the right check, I'd rock a hoverboard to battle.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna sign out here. Everybody, and we're gonna take a photo of the board. So that
I'm not comfortable yet. Let's go a few
so
more.
You can go home and you can study.
All right, and then we'll continue the game
for the next
Fair
interview.
Enough. Fair enough.
After your next title match.
Yeah.
I'd
After my first defense.
You would beat both of us?
Yeah, I played a terrible game for the record. I was very distracted in my answers and your beard, but that beautiful hat with those beautiful eyes.
There's a lot of pressure being a chess winner, and eventually you just don't want to be known as a chess winner anymore.
Yeah,
people challenge you all the time.
Yeah, this is a burden.
Yeah,
this is a fucking burden. You can have it.
Yeah. So, signing out. BattleRap.com.
True.